looks like and who gets the first shot to play with Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes, and what the rest of the lineup looks like moving forward as we get through day number 1. So Brad Treliving was talking about how there's more bodies than seats. More bodies than seats this year, and that's alluding to the amount of competition he expects at camp. That top spot is a perfect example of the competition that will be ensuing. But there's a lot of bottom 6 players, a lot of depth players this season. There's more than 23 NHLers, I would say, on this roster. So it's going to be an important camp, and to me, competition brings the best out of people. I'm expecting a hard, grueling camp, specifically for some of those guys in the bottom 6, trying to prove that they're worthy of that opening night roster spot.
Yeah, and he went on to say, like, doesn't matter if you're 20 years old or you're 35 years old. If you're contributing, you find a way to give us a good chance, you're going to make the team. Yep. And I know that was obviously a mention of Easton Cowan there. Craig Berube was not as enthused with kind of that idea, if you kind of just from how I kind of heard him talk about it. But I think it's the first season where I feel like there's going to be some very tough decisions that are going to have to be made in terms of players being put on waivers. Players are going to be told, you used to be able to say I had an NHL spot. Not anymore. Like, we're not penciling in David Kampf right now because, frankly, there's better options than David Kampf, and David Kampf has to actually show that he is still worthy of being on this team. And I'm sure he's probably like, this is new territory for me, and I think it's actually refreshing to see that we're going to have some legitimate battles for roster spots.
Yep, like the 2 guys who have been kind of penciled in with the Leafs, Nick Robertson and David Kampf, on my lineup card, assuming everyone's healthy, they're sitting in the press box night 1 against the Montreal Canadiens on October 8th. So they're going to have to battle. They're going to have to prove that they are the best option for the Maple Leafs. And what Craig Berube said about that was, the 20 guys each night that gives them the best chance to win is who's going to make the team. So when asked about Easton Cowan, he said if he's the best fit for the team to help them win, then they'll put him in that position to play. But he's got to prove it. And so does Yarncroc, so does Nick Robertson, so does Bobby McMahon. Remember, Bobby McMahon didn't even start the year with the Leafs last year. So there's many players that are going to have to prove that they are worthy of being in this lineup each and every night. And even Steven Lorentz might not be a nightly guy for the team this year. He's going to have to keep performing to a high level, the level they need him to perform at to keep his place. So yeah, more bodies than seats, which should mean a really, really solid camp. One other thing that I guess we really took away from today's presser was all the discourse surrounding Anthony Stolarz. And we talked about that a little bit the other day, how potentially, could Stolarz be looking to get a deal done in training camp? He's a pending UFA. We just saw a contract extension to Spencer Knight, and whether or not that would have impact. But what we do know is that there have been ongoing conversations with Stolarz and his representatives. And Brad Treliving said, quote, "We're hopeful to find a good outcome here. I'm confident until proven otherwise that we can find something that'll work. I think we'll do that in short order." So it sounds like he wants to get something done pretty quick and get this thing signed, sealed, and delivered so they know what their goalie situation is moving forward. That being said, it's also being reported that Anthony Stolarz has a timeline for when he will be cutting off all negotiations on an extension. Dave, what's the timeline?
Well, actually, he spoke to Luke Fox, and he said, "I want to get it done as soon as possible, especially before the season starts." Mm-hmm. And I think CJ Chris Johnson said that essentially once the regular season starts, there's no desire to talk about a contract.
Yep.
Which, again, we've been down this road before. Yep. But this is clearly a goaltender right now that understands there's a bit of leverage for him and he wants to get a deal done. The team wants to get a deal done, but he's also understand that, we got to come together on what's, good for him and good for the team. And I think the most important thing for him is term. To me, he's been through so many different times with free. He even said it. I've been to free agency. I've done that dance a few times. Let's get me a little more stability, so I do not have to see free agency for a little bit here. And I think that's what it's gonna. I think that's. It seems like where it's coming down to is what's the right term for both him and the team.
Yeah, set his roots. So he can put his roots down here in Toronto. Know that he's going to be here for not only this year, but an additional maybe 3-4 years after this. Take him all the way to 35 years old at that point, and really settle into Toronto. That could be the way that they get it done. It sounds as though Chris Johnson was making it sound as though, the comparables are between $4.5 and $5 million, right? Kevin Lankinen is a guy who signed a contract a year ago in Vancouver, very similar career arc. And Karel Vejmelka, another guy very similar to Anthony Stolarz. I think he's making $4.75. So something in that range, $4.5 to $5 million sounds like it could be the number, but it sounds as though, again, Stolarz wants term to go along with it, whether it's 3-4 years. Gonna have to be some term if he wants to get something locked in and locked down for the Maple Leafs before the end of training camp and before the regular season kicks off on October 8th against the Montreal Canadiens. Anything else that stuck out to you from today's day one of camp, listening to Berube, listening to Tree Living, the leadership group with Matthews, Tavares, Riley? Anything else stick out to you?
Not really. A lot of the same answers we've kind of expected. How do you help this team get over the hump? Blah-de-da-de-da. It's like, okay, we've heard this. Oh, we got the True Living answer on Dylan Dubé.
Yes.
That is not a focus on this team, and I think we kind of expected that, especially, I think for any of the Canadian teams, I think Edmonton was asked about Carter Hart. That's not even on their radar right now.
That should tell you something.
Yeah, Alex Formenton, he's still technically with the Senators. I think he's an RFA, and they're like,
yeah,
we're trying to find a trade partner. We're just trying to find a split there. So, like, if you're a Canadian team, especially if you're one of these 5 players, I don't think you're going to be finding anything in Canada at this stage.
Couldn't a team just offer sheet him?
Probably.
Like, as an RFA, can't he be offer sheeted? And
I don't know if there's like deadlines or stuff for offer sheets. I
don't know if there is either, I suppose, but as long as they keep the number to like under 1.4 or something like that, where you have to give up a 3rd round pick, and I'm sure these players will play for league minimum just to get back into the NHL.
I don't think the Senators are looking to get. I think
conditional 7th. Yeah, conditional 7th, future considerations type.
Give us a player who's not even anywhere close to being on the NHL radar. If you need to get rid of the roster space,
that's fair. That's even if someone wants to go down that path, which it doesn't seem like the Leafs are wanting to do, despite there being a bit of a report on that earlier in the week. Doesn't sound like the Leafs are going to be in the Dylan Dubé business anytime soon. So yeah, there was quite a bit that was said throughout camp today, but sounds like everyone's enjoyed their summer, happy with how they trained to get ready for the upcoming season. And today the real stuff begins on the ice. So they'll get through the first portion of on ice testing. We'll get a look at the lines so far early in camp. We'll see what's going on with the power play. I'm very intrigued to see what the first power play looks like as well. So lots still to come in camp. Only one day down, still a couple weeks ago, and then we got a game on Sunday taking on the Ottawa Senators. So really quickly, only a few days of on ice sessions, then bam, right onto the ice for a game on Sunday. and we'll be here each and every weekday to break it all down. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morisuti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow to continue breaking down day one of on-ice sessions from Maple Leafs training camp. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.